Audiobook Spring. Listen to relaxing novel. Thank you for following and not crossing advertisements. Female doctor and journeys through time. Time to become a princess. Chapter 91. Follow Liu Yukin at the Liu family's house. This time, Lin Xin's expression was even more troubled. Young man, Qin Chen? But this time, Feng Rishuing's face was even worse. Little pig when she didn't love Liu Yukin anymore. How is it possible that she followed him day after day, didn't she? How can you let him go? Feng Rishuing forced a smile. The look in her eyes looked dull and guilty. Brother, I'm sorry, I really don't know that things will be like this. Before I met Liu Yukin, he was the one who told me I don't know what he really is. Being a party to harass brother. These words place all the blame on Liu Yukin. He himself was pure and pure, not involved in any wrongdoing. However, Liu Yukin was not here. The statement is true or false. No one can prove anything. This Liu Yukin, I really missed him. Mu Kinger said angrily. It was unthinkable that he would turn black and white and make a mistake. If this matter hadn't spread throughout the capital before, others would have believed Feng Rishuing's words. But isn't Liu Yukin dating Tan Shuang's Huang? For Tan Shuang's Huang, he let the princess stay in the dorm alone. Then why did he have to make trouble again? Xiao Ying frowned, his expression showing that he did not understand the reason why Liu Yukin did this. On the contrary, no one suspected Feng Rishuing. When he saw that others focused attention on Liu Yukin, Feng Rishuing also felt somewhat relieved. His mother used to tell those great nobles all had important role in the royal court. She had to maintain a relationship with those grand nobles' descendants well. Next, they might help support the Sui family. Moreover, for the Sui family, she also deliberately let Lin Xin hurt those people too. But those nobles had always been interested in the Nalin family, so she had to play tricks on these grand nobles' descendants. If the medicine they invented turned out to be bad for Nala and Dyer. In this way, the Nalin family would break up with the grand nobles, and the Sui family would win a slot. There was no need to fear that they would not pledge allegiance to Sakol Sui. But in this plan, Lin Xin had been overlooked. It was beyond her expectation. When thinking up to this point, Feng Rishuing suddenly raised his head to look at Lin Xin. In a cautious manner, her mind thumping and pounding, lest she say anything else. This is it, Lin Xin spoke in a fiery rage. Liu Yukin and I weren't related for a long time. Why did he have to go around slandering me? I'll settle with him at the Liu family's house. Now, at that moment, Feng Rishuing's face turned pale. The look in her eyes was agitated. What she was even more afraid of was that since knowing that nourishing food Lin Xin's health really helped to remove the scars, this kind of respect was not shown, but kept quietly in his heart, slowly growing firmly in his roots. Liu Yukin slandered the princess. He was clearly wrong, Your Highness. We will follow you to the Liu family to settle accounts with him. Consider it as an apology for our rudeness to you that day. Zhao Yang's eyes were sincere. He spoke with a firm expression. I want to go too. I want to know why Liu Yukin has to do this even though he doesn't love the princess. Instead, he thought of slandering and destroying the honor of the princess. In the past, they all detested Lin Xin. But there was never anyone slander Mrs. Because they all knew that the bad reputation of Lin Xin would not be good for Liuyun County. It will only make other provinces laugh at it. Her reputation was rotten enough. Why make it stink even more? So no matter how offended they are, very much just speaks a little sarcastically behind his back. Never traveled around and announced what was wrong with her. Chapter 90. To the owner of the first hall 1. Feng Rishuing looked at the expressions of those people puzzled. She was just not coming to a single meeting. Why? The stories turned out to be beyond her control. Maybe Liu Yukin might have misunderstood Big Brother. Feng Rishuing smiled. Because in the past, in order to get Liu Yukin brother, take your lover apart. His misunderstanding is something that can happen. Brother, take it easy. Isn't it that you were wrong first? Suddenly, the entire group fell silent. It's so true no matter what the current lines in was, but before, she was so vicious that people were disgusted. All the actions she had done to get Liu Yukon came to everyone. Liu Yukon's misunderstanding was understandable. It's that no one really blames him. Lines and laughed. All the wrongs I've committed, I admit, but it doesn't mean that I'm willing to accept slander. Unreasonable color labels. Feng Rishuing is the princess of the province. Liu Yan was father's daughter. Surrendering me is like creating problem for His Highness considered ungrateful, making Liu province be disgraced, considered disloyal, ungrateful people and not loyal, like you have a face to teach me. Feng Rishuing blushed. His face was full of shame. Another thing, Lin Xin looked at Feng Rishuing with disdainful eyes and smiled slightly. I'm Lin Xin, you don't need anyone to teach you. Arrogant, thought he was the best in the whole country. Clap. Suddenly, applause sounded from the upper floors of the first tower. Lin Xin raised her head to look up, and suddenly, a figure of a person in purple and gold robes flashed into her eyes. A man wore a mask that covered half of his face, making his entire face invisible, but he is different from the people who she had seen at all. Compared to Guo Sai, who looked cold and noble, Qin Chen looked pure and clean. The man in front of him had a ray of malevolence, looking menacing and charming. If it gets close, it may not withdraw. Oh my gosh, owner. First tower? How did he show up? In fact, the first dormitory's activities were numerous, such as shops, selling drugs, restaurants, banks, casinos, or even shops. There are magical creatures too. It's just that the owner of the first dorm usually doesn't act mysteriously. Will appear in the first tower, but the symbolic mask, he seemed to announce to everyone that it was him. As for the people next to that man was an old man who stood with a humble expression. This old man had only one expression on his face. Whoever's story the man walked down from the upper floor. He walked gracefully, the corners of his mouth laced with an evil smile. The golden eyes sparkled. Bizarre, Lin Xin stopped breathing for some reason. When the man, the closer she got, the more her heart beat. That man had a savage aura. It was so violent that it made the surroundings completely silent. Seeing that man walking toward Lin Xin, Feng Rishuing clenched her fists tightly, her eyes full of anger. Although Feng Rishuing didn't know how important the first tower was on this continent, she knew that when her father was with the owner of the first tower, his father always respected him. If it's the same group as the first tower, next in the eyes of the father, the Zhu family would become even more important. If it allowed Lin Xin to get close to the first dormitory owner, her Liu family would be harder to win. Lin Xin, the daughter of Nailin Wanghao, helpless people in under heaven, has done many evil things. Bully women to steal men, separate lovers from each other, do only bad things. The man's every word, this caused Lin Xin's expression to soften. Gradually, her bad reputation spread all over the world. Even the owner of the first dorm would know. Chapter 93, First Tower Owner. Feng Rishuing was satisfied. Her sparkling eyes looked at Juming. Ninth young master, don't blame my elder brother. Older brother little does not know it should not be so. I have committed so many mistakes. I, as a sister, must help bear that guilt as well. Jiaming's evil eyes looking at Feng Rishuing contemptuously. He smiled, his voice arrogant, his expression extremely arrogant. Who are you? Feng Rishuing frowned. Her face looked embarrassed, especially when the Zhaoyans looked at her. Mrs. Ying. I want to hide my face, ninth young master. I am Lin Xin's younger sister. Dear grandchildren, do you have twins? Jiaming smirked, not even the slightest hint of Feng Rishuing's face. Feng Rishuing blushed. Embarrassed, she bit her lip. My mother is wrong, Gui Fei. I am the half-sister of Feng Ruqing. Actually, it's a little Cinderella. Jiaming looked at Feng Rishuing contemptuously, his voice mocking. A dorm owner like me hates our children. The youngest wife. You look at yourself. Feng Rishuing, she hadn't thought that the owner of the first dormitory could even see the Liuyun country in sight. Even though His Highness gave the first hall of honor, but that's not it meant that the Liuyu nation would fear him. In addition, her mother was also Gui Fei. How could she compare it to the mistresses of ordinary villagers? There must be a sock on the day that the mother her will be great in this region. Lin Xin stroked his nose. This man, I really like it. I like that too. What's up? Jiaminjok suddenly saw the girl staring at him. Her eyes did not blink. He laughed. Do you like me? Lin Xin felt sick. Not at all. She preferred Guo Sai, who looked more cold and noble. This guy looks fierce and arrogant. This kind of person, she didn't want to get too close. If you lose weight successfully, I will make my heart love you. Lin Xin laughed. If you take off your mask and I see that you look good enough, I'll let you enter my princess residence. All right, but it's a pity that you keep wearing a mask. Your face is so sinister that you don't dare to let anyone see it. There are so many handsome men in this world. Why should I like you? Jiaming rolled his eyes. His golden eyes shone. In this life, no one has ever seen my true face. Otherwise, wouldn't the women of the whole country harass me? This kind of mess, why would I find something to put on myself? Lin Xin was even more tired than before. Finally, she found a frog who more narcissistic than Guo Sai. Lin Xin raised his hand to slap Juming's face without a mask. Gently, the moment Lin Xin's hand touched Jiaming's face, every quiet thing old man standing next to he was shocked to the point of goosebumps, looking at the man standing beside him. With fear, since time immemorial, Kun Chai's a clean lover who doesn't let anyone touch his face. But this woman, how dare you put your hands on Kun Chai's face? There are far more handsome men that I have ever met than you. How handsome will you be? Her Guo Shai was the most handsome man in the whole world. With Guo Shai, how could she be blind to like someone else? Qin Chen's appearance was not bad. Even though his face was scarred, it did not diminish his handsomeness. How are these people? Arrogant Jingming said in a stern voice. Evil eyes? Gage? Lin Xin smiled. You are the same. One guy fi expensive concubine position of the Emperor's chief concubine. Chapter 94 First Tower Owner 3. Aren't you afraid I'll kill you? Juming's voice hardened. A savage aura spread all around him. This brave, reckless woman putting his hand on his face wasn't enough. Dared to insult him too. I'm so scared. Lin Xin acted like a shocked person, holding his hand. Slap, you shocked me. But if I, Lin Xin, take the matter, come up, you won't be able to fight me. Dared to say that the whole world would be crazy about him. Want to compare her handsomeness with her Guo Shai. It was her Guo Shai who was the most beautiful man in the whole world. Whoever dares to take advantage of her will take offense at everyone. The old man could sense that Juming's savage energy grew more and more. His forehead was dripping with sweat. But not long ago, the somber atmosphere surrounding the group gradually faded away. In the first tower, the atmosphere returned to normal again. Sir, let's go. Juming looked at Lin Xin with disdainful eyes, shook the manual sleeve, walked backwards and left the first tower. Everyone felt a tingling sensation in their spines. No one had recovered from their fright for a moment. Forgot to greet people. Why are you all standing there? Hurry up and eat the snacks. After eating, I went to settle accounts with Liu Yukin. People looking at each other, then he looked at Lin Xin with a smooth expression. Indifferent, still unable to regain consciousness. Are you not afraid of him? Mukinger asked with wide eyes. Why are you afraid? Lin Xin skewed his mouth. He just threatened to panic. It's just that I didn't really do it. From the first glance of Jiaming, she immediately knew that this man had come. She didn't just come here for sarcasm. He must have something else. Therefore, she would wait for him to come to her. More. When Feng Rishuang heard that Lin Xin was going to see Liu Yukin, he was shocked. His face turned pale, even his hands were trembling, causing him to hide behind his back. Brother, it is possible that I heard wrong that day. Liu Yukin might said. He could harass you. But it's okay to hear wrong. Whether it was me or him who was harassing me, I would settle with him anyway. Lin Xin smiled. The way she saw Feng Rishuang's expression couldn't do it. Make her feel satisfied. The uncomfortable feeling of not seeing Guo Sai for several days was completely dispelled. The Zhaoyangs, who were originally guilty of Lin Xin, plus their curiosity about nourishing food, made them unable to help following Lin Xin. Compared to Feng Rishuang, who had been the center of their attention, Now only become air only, she looked at Linson furiously. Seeing that no one was interested in her, she flicked herself and walked out of the first tower. She raised her head to look at Feng Rishuing, who was walking away, a hint of contentment in her eyes. That she came to meet today was to provoke Feng Rishuing. Now Feng Rishuing had returned. She didn't need to stay in the first dorm anymore. She bid farewell to everyone and walked out of the dormitory. When walking out the door, the old man following Jiaming stood and waited. She was all ready. He spoke in a humble manner. Princess Feng Ruqing, Your Highness invites you to meet. Feng Ruqing raised his eyebrows. Lead the way. Even though this man had met her for the first time, he had taunted her and was very arrogant, but because he cursed Feng Rishuing, so it made her feel good for him no matter what, the person who bullied Feng Rishuing. She likes them all. Princess, please. The old man waved his hand in greeting and spoke respectfully. Chapter 95. First Tower Owner 4. The first dormitory. At the Sampao Saloon, which is not far away. When Linson walked in, the first thing he saw was a man who was sitting on the back of a chair. The man looked lazy and evil. He put his arm on the armrest. The golden eyes flashed evil. He smiled and looked at the young woman. Walking in the junkyard, the sound of guzheng resounded. Behind the screen, enough to see the young lady who was slathering on guzheng. You want to see me because of healthy food, right? Linson crossed his arms. He smiled and raised his eyebrows and asked the manual. The man did not answer Linson's question. He spoke in a lazy way. Come sit next to me. Linson glanced at the man's side. Finding that there was no chair, Mrs. She's face was annoyed. You will make me sit on the floor. Or sit on your lap. The fact that you were sitting next to I consider it your luck. Even sitting on the floor, I don't see anything. Linson, she was wrong. She wanted to bring back the good feeling of letting him go. Or do you want to sit on my lap? The man smiled. I'm afraid that you will be crushed in the gut. You better sit on the floor, I say. She wanted to slap him to death. What to do? What? Linson took a deep breath. Excuse me, I'll be right back. She turned around while about to step out of as the junk saloon went. There was a figure of a person appearing in her way, like a ghost. That man still had that signature smile. But this time, Linson didn't feel that it was charming, but had the feeling that Dot would like to beat him to death. But if she can't beat him, get away, she said in an angry tone. Jiaming rolled his eyes. The evil eyes flashed, embarrassed to the point of anger. My lap for you, it's okay to sit and watch. Feng Ruqing, even though she slapped him in the face. Slap your face. Because in this world, the only person she wanted to caress her face was Guoshai. Who can compare with Guosai? If you don't get it right, get your head off. Linson laughed. Jiaming smiled. His smile was beautiful. Even Linson must admit, from a half-seen face, Jiaming's face is definitely not bad. But I don't know why. That's why he had to wear a mask on half of his face, or the other half had an abscess similar to hemorrhoids. So no one can see. When thinking up to this point, Line Crossaging looked at Jiaming with compassionate eyes. For the sake of this guy whose face has hemorrhoids, she will forgive him once. Linson, all those years ago, heard your nonsense, didn't think that this time you make me look at you again. Jiaming approached Linson. Therefore, this time I came to see you. To cooperate with you. Cooperate? That's right, it's what you said. Skip the matter with nourishing food. You're healthy, you sell me health food. I will repay you with something you didn't expect. Linson asked excitedly. In return, with what? My first tower had a magical pharmacy. As usual, the drug, spells of level 3 and above will not be sold in the shop. A 3rd level magic pill. It's on sale for very little. As soon as it goes on sale, someone will buy it, but I'll give it to you. Order of the first tower with you, you can buy precious elixirs. In the shop can be of all kinds, Jiaming said with a smile. Just what my shop has. And you are wise to pay, I'll sell it to you, okay? Linson lost his temper. She thought that Jiaming would repay with something else. In fact, it was just a magic pill. Right now, a 3rd level magic pill was of no use to her. The price is exorbitantly expensive. After all, he could only give Fukin as food, so why would she accept the trade-off? He didn't fight to raise his own abilities and grow a third-level magic pool quickly. Would be better. Chapter 96 Cooperate 1. I have errands. Excuse me. She walked out of the junkyard and Juming walked to block Linsin's path. He stared at her face. What do you want? The man's voice was deep and evil. This caused Linsin to stop walking, his eyes flashing something that was hard to see. I want half of your first tower. Hey? As soon as he finished speaking, Old Shu let out a dissatisfied voice. His originally uninterested look disappeared, turning into a blazing anger. Is the princess too greedy? Did you know that the first tower, how is it important? The fuss is it to take half of the first tower. Linsin smiled and did not show any anger. I know, and I know how important is my nutritious food. It's not just delicious, but also helps to cure disease. It's even more effective than the doctor's medicine. The profit is worth the acceptance. Exchange with me for sure. Grandfather saw we ought to continue speaking, but Jiaming raised his hand to stop him, so he didn't say anything. Jiaming looked at Linsin with a bad smile. Boy, you're not afraid I'll kill you. Then snatch healthy food or time. That I've obtained health food and killed you? Linsin smiled and placed a finger on his head. All the health food formulas are in my head. Moreover, I also invent new healthy recipes. Will you kill? Hurting me is of less benefit than cooperating with me. In fact, these nourishing foods were the ones Fukin and Qinghan helped her adjust the recipe for. Because who has great power and prestige in this continent possessing a few magic potions, if they don't adjust the recipe, they may turn a typical healthy meal into a nourishing meal. Wonderful health, nourishing food was her last trump card. She wouldn't even let the formula leak out. If compared general health food going well, it has only 1/100th of the effect. Only wonderful healthy food, it had no effect on Mrs. The first tower, I can't share it with you. Juming glanced at Linsin, his voice was lazy. Looks evil and arrogant, but what benefits are the restaurants and tea houses under the first dormitory? I can give you half. By the way, you can still get it. Named as the Grand Master of the first dorm. Is this good? Linsin stroked his chin. Contemplating hard, youngster Jiaming approached Linsin, lowered his head and smiled, his breath hot. He lightly patted the girl's cheek. Energy. The abilities of the first tower like me show only slightly. If you take my word, I'll help you find out. The cause? The death of Nolan Hong Hao. Linsin suddenly clenched his fist. She raised her head, her gaze fixed on Juming, her eyes unblinking. You mean my mother did not die during childbirth? Ever since Linsin was born, everyone they all told her that her mother death during childbirth. Now, hearing Jiaming's words, her death was not as simple as anyone said. Haha, Jiaming laughed derisively. The strength of the Liuyun province's abilities is a bit weak, if you want to clarify this matter. Relying on only the emperor when you are afraid, it's not that easy, otherwise he would have been able to find out all these years. Linsin bowed his head. Her breathing was stronger than usual. Na granddaughter did not die during childbirth. Even her father was unable to ascertain the cause of death behind her mother, who had the power behind this matter. How big will it be? Why do you have to tell me this? Linsin raised his eyebrows and smirked, staring at Jiaming. Chapter 97 Cooperate 2. Jiaming laughed. Because we work together. I need your nourishment. As for you, you need strength from the tower of only the first. Good. Linsin's eyes looked resolute. I accept your offer. I will give all my health food to the first tower, provided that you must support the strength of the tower. First for me. Agree? When Linsin walked out of the junkyard, the sky had already darkened. She looked down at the sign in her hand. His eyes were filled with satisfaction. Coming to this meeting was not wasted. At least getting a label, the command of the first tower came to help her do things more conveniently. At least, regarding the rare medicinal plant seeds, she could let the people of the first hall go and buy them for her. Sir, in the junkyard, Old Shu frowned as he watched Linsin walk away. He sighed. Being the grand mistress of the first dormitory, there was how important I'm afraid she doesn't understand. Do you really think about doing this? Jiaming put one hand behind his back. The cuffs of his sleeves flew, swaying in the wind in his golden eyes. There was a picture of a plump woman slowly walking away until she disappeared out of sight. In the past, when I was assassinated, I was seriously injured. Then I founded the first tower. Jiaming turned around and looked at Old Chu. Do you think that without Na, Lan Wanghao would have the first tower like today? Silent old man, say no more, that I don't call myself the first dormitory owner because. Fang, that's luxury. Old Chu raised his head and looked at Juming in shock. The first tower was born from Kun Chai's hard work. But, instead, he did not call himself the owner. To call only Mr. Or was this all for Lin Xin alone? Sir, you mean? The old man's voice trembled, his eyes full of astonishment. My life was saved because of the help of the great-grand otter's grandson. So I'm using the first tower to repay you, even if it can't repay you all. But many years ago Lin Xin acted liquid. To crushed, bullying women, to steal men, do all sorts of bad things. So how could I refuse to meet her? If the first tower fell into the hands of such a person, then will be a disaster for people, whole house, whole city. Nalan Wanghao is a woman with outstanding abilities. He will definitely not let her daughter become the villain that the world writes. The woman now is not the same as before. Old grandpa mumbled for a moment before speaking. But he can calm down. He was silent for a moment before continuing to ask, why did the young master not accept her request in the first place? The story that she asked to divide the first dormitory in half. Jiaming laughed. He rolled his fingers over the teacups that were on the table. If it's too easy, besides, her current strength and abilities are not enough. No control tower? The first one is here. I gave half of the first tower to her. It might hurt her. The old man was silent. Since then, Kun Chai is the person who values relationships. But raising the first tower like this, its cost is too high. People only knew the visible business property of the first tower, but did not know that in this continent. How important is the first tower? Young master is worried about those family members, right? Old grandpa Shu raised his head and asked in a serious voice. Jiaming's eyes turned gloomy. Looks confused. That's right, since I founded the first tower. Those people want me to lift. The first tower was given to a person called my brother. If they know what I'm up to, the first tower was given to Lin Xin. It must surely be a disaster for her. Chapter 98 Cooperate 3. Otherwise, just meeting her once, he probably didn't think so much about this. Grandson Huang Hao was his benefactor. He couldn't hurt the child. Her girl can. Sir, can't you let her know about this? No, the more she knows, Young was of no use to Mrs. Jiaming raised the teacup. Look at Grandpa Sawi with eyes that are well known. Reverend Xu sent someone to continue investigating the cause of Nalan Wanghao's death. In addition, I heard that at that time, Nalan Wanghao gave birth to twins, a girl and a woman. That means Lin Xin, there should be another younger brother. Old Zhu's eyes were filled with shock. Possible, by the way, did the Emperor of Liuyun County know about this? He probably doesn't know. Behind him there was a large authority, with the power of the Liuyun nation would not be able to detect that much. This story involves various influential families. Behind relying only on the strength of one region, it would not be able to fight with those families. What they will do, the Liuyun County had no way to find out, but the story of the Nalan Empress, he had to get in and deal with it. No one could get in his way. Every day after taking the magical liquor, old man Nalan's face looked flushed, fresh and bright, and even his health was greatly strengthened. Today, while Grandma Nalan is walking, one child hastily rushed towards him. He spoke with an agitated expression. Bad? Old General? Bad? The elders of the Wei family, Qin and Zhang, the three clans have come here. In Liuyun County there were three big families that inherited the title: Wei, Qin, and Zhang. These three families married their relatives. Generation after generation the bond was very close, but Lan Haiyan was also the eldest of the Qin family. Therefore, the people of the Qin family, it's not unusual to come to the general's residence. What surprised him was that why did the people of the three clans come together? In the distance, Grandpa Nalan saw three old men with a refreshing expression walk towards him. With a loud laughter, that laugh made old man Nalan unspeakably shocked, unable to understand exactly what had happened. Elder Nalan thought for a long time. Clan leader Qin Fei Nong Qin walked closer. Grandma put a hand on his shoulder with a loud laughter. "Grandson, I heard my son-in-law say, recently did you get a bottle of good wine? You're really bad. The two of us are such a close family. Plus you know that I like to drink alcohol yesterday. When I came, he didn't bring that wine out to welcome me." Old man Nalangsy had a stern face as he said angrily, "Nalan change Kiang, I will kill you." "This crazy bastard," he repeated and repeated, and he was going to bring out the matter that he had received the magic liquor to speak. "Here, come, 3 people, will they come and suck their blood and flesh to death? Who would want to come and suck his blood and flesh? He'll kill it." "Grandson, why are you so stingy?" Qin Feiying became frustrated. "I just wanted to take a sip of your wine. Will you kill my son-in-law? But hey, here I come. If you don't drink good wine came out to certify me today, I won't go back." Qin Feiyang roared. He flicked his sleeves and sat down on the stone chair, his gaze landing on old man Nalan. "Grandfather and granddaughter almost will cough up blood. That's wonderful liquor. He is diligently sipping just a gulp a day. If these people found out, wouldn't they come here every day to ask for food and drink?" In fact, Grandpa Nalan thought about using other liquor to fool this group of people, but the liquor he kept those people had tasted it all. Looks like it's not too late. This nephew changed Qian to flatter his father-in-law, causing his own father to be in trouble. People say their daughters are all grown up. Should leave the house, but why should this son leave home to over? Chapter 99. The impatient Qin Feiyang 1. Seeing these old people sitting on chairs waiting for some good wine from him, his heart was filled with repression and cursing Lan Change Qian in I don't know how many hundred rounds. "Soldier, bring me the good wine that I have kept." Elder Nalan clenched his teeth tightly. "Listen carefully, pour only 1 small bowl, then bring 3 or 4 empty bowls." "Did you hear that? Who dares to pour so much? I will kill him." The soldier who was about to get the wine trembled. He thought that if he accidentally poured a drop of excess wine, the old general must have killed him. "Nalan, when did you become such a coward?" Qin Feiyang roared. Disgruntled, so many of us came. He brought a small bowl of liquor. "1 bowl has come to certify us." "What does this mean?" "Looks too insulting." Old man Nalan was so angry that he didn't care about those people. "Would you like to drink? If not, go back. I will save a bowl of liquor." "Sir," Qin Feiyang blushed. The hand pointed towards the old general's face. Lan said nothing. "Just 1 cup of liquor." Elder Nalan must be so jealous, or like this. He had to stay to see if what kind of liquor would this old man bring out to behave like this. After a while, the soldier brought out a bowl of liquor, cautiously walking over to them. His hand that was holding the liquor bowl did not dare to tremble at all. "Will be killed by the old general." Old man Nalan looked at the liquor at the bottom of the bowl and smiled. "Grandson, what do you mean?" Qin Feiyang had an expressionless expression. He turned to look at Grandpa Nalan angrily. "Do you want us to take a sip of each other? How can this liquor be enough to drink?" The old general smiles. "He'll let you know my liquor. If you buy it outside, the price is enormous. Even for just 1 sip, someone would pay a hefty sum of money for it. You will drink and drink. If you don't smell it, go back. I will save the liquor." "Ha ha ha ha!" Qin Feiyang laughed derisively. "Is your liquor really that precious? I don't believe it." After speaking, Qin Feiyang reached out and snatched the bowl of liquor from soldier. The other 2 old men had expressions full of resentment. They must have been furious over 1 sip of wine. Even if Qin is seen, Feiyang took the liquor to drink alone. They wouldn't feel anything more. Just 1 sip, will it be too cheap? Their house doesn't have a lack of alcohol. If it weren't for their acquaintance with the old general, they wouldn't have come here to taste wine as well. Besides, usually when they have good liquor, was there ever a time that you didn't tell this old man, who would be as stingy as him, who poured just 1 gulp of liquor and shared it with 3 people to sip? This is... Qin Feiyang was suddenly stunned. The people of the 3 major families had been fighting with the old general for a long time. Over the years, their health was subject to some or more ailments. Little, especially Qin Feiyang. Several years ago, he was injured, and his penance practice did not progress at all. But as soon as he drank this wine, he could feel a magical power is circulating in the body. Make his magic power increase not less. If a commoner knowing the increased magic power like this, I probably didn't think much of it. But how long has it been? How long has it been since he hasn't practiced penance? The magical power at his dantian never increased again. Chapter 100 The Impatient Qin Feiyang 2. The feeling of having superpowers flowed like this. How many years ago he never touched. Mr. Qin Weifang frowned. Look at Qin Feiyang's expression. Shocking, this wine is no different from what we used to drink on a regular basis, right? If so, then, I haven't finished speaking yet. Wei Fang was stunned, in his eyes filled with astonishment. Because the bowl of liquor that Qin Feiyang drank just a moment ago, 2 drops of liquor remained at the bottom of the bowl. Now he had no image left to preserve. He stuck out his tongue, licking the bottom of the bowl until it was smoothed out. Not even a single drop remained. And still, showing a satiated expression to the climax. This is when Qin Feiyang came to his senses, so he saw that the people around him stared at him with a shocked look. He suddenly remembered what he had done a moment ago, and suddenly coughed. Awkwardly, I can't stand it. I really can't stand it. This liquor tastes really good. Miss Nolan, can you give me some more? 1 sip, just 1 sip is enough. Many years ago, good liquor there were many that they had tasted. I can't count. I can't be scared. But he had never seen Qin Feiyang behave like this before. Wei Fang looked at Qin Feiyang with a doubtful look. Master Qin, liquor, does it taste that good? Hearing the voice that Wei Fang interrogated Liang, Qin Feiyang had a face. Still, in fact, even at first he didn't feel anything. But when he drank the first sip of the liquor, he immediately realized that this liquor was fermented from a magic potion. How precious is that magic potion? Fermented into liquor, isn't it a bit wasted? Moreover, even if someone is so rich that they use a magical pill to ferment it into liquor, but liquor can help people, it can also hurt people. Even as a person of magic pharmacy wouldn't have the courage to brew this kind of magical liquor and sell it easily. So, the value of this magical liquor, you know. If they let them know that he drank their part of the liquor, lest he would be carried home today. This wine is good wine, really good, ha-hoo. A lot of liquor already, just 1 sip doesn't matter. Ha 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 ha. Elder Nalen, who was furious from the start, sneered, "Are you sure it's just good liquor? Obviously it's liquor. You say it's only liquor that can be found anywhere." Qin Feiyang, do you look down on my liquor too much? Qin Feiyang didn't expect that you would have today. Even if Nalan Changqiang goes to tell you about the magic liquor, why do you have to bring people to build trouble me too? Now, I'll give you a taste of the matter. Self-made. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang's spine flashed. He turned around, froze, laughing awkwardly. Misunderstood. Misunderstood. This is a misunderstanding. I can explain. Wei Fang laughed. Explain? What are you going to explain? You drink call alone, not a drop left for us. You still have a face to say. Zhangqing was furious. Qin Feiyang, how do you want us to settle an account with you? Qin Feiyang saw those 2 old men furiously, coughing and coughing. He felt deep guilt and laughed. What's up? Slowly, 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 from. At most, we asked the old general. Just add a little more. Immediately, everyone's gaze fell on Grandpa Nalen. Grandpa Nalen didn't seem afraid of anything. You look, by go in vain, that's all I can share with you, and I'll give the rest to His Highness. If you're truly convinced, go and ask your Highness for yourselves. Feng Dianyu was his son-in-law. If he said he had given it, then who would dare to say that he hadn't given it yet?
Desire to listen to good novel? Don't forget to subscribe.